celebration. Welcome to another edition of Goat vs. Fish News. It's news you can choose. Goats on a bus. Piranhas in North America. Horse magnifier. All this and less on Goat vs. Fish News. Welcome Psychic Buckeye 12. Welcome Encrypted to Goat vs. Fish. It's time for a celebration. It's time for a celebration of information. A celebration of information. What's this new versus? What's this new versus of Goat vs. Fish? What's this new versus of Goat vs. Fish? Why, it's a new old versus of Goat vs. Fish. We've had this for many, many, many years now. But with appreciation to Penn and Rose, they said, hey, Goat vs. Fish, why don't you get this musician maker actually set up and doing some verses? And Goat vs. Fish said, okay. And so here we are, and at long last, we have a tiny keyboard of MIDI controller of Goat vs. Fish that we can make musications on, little random musications. Little random musications for your celebrations. Like this versus. Or other random verses. Look, see what I redeemed. Oh, GoatVsFish sees all. And except for the stuff we don't. But we saw it. So will GoatVsFish start making random loops for your enjoyment? Perhaps. Perhaps. Yes, this input goes directly into the computation of GoatVsFish, and then we have to route it through the GoatVsFish mixer. Took a bit of verses. It took a bit of verses to get it going, but it's here now. It's here now. And we have it to do all kinds of... You're jealous of the studio of GoatVsFish? It's true. GoatVsFish has powers beyond the comprehension of many. We could have fun with this for several minutes. A song of Fish Center Live. You redeem a song of Fish Center Live during GoatVsFish News? Well, we'll just have to do it. We'll just have to do it. Okay, GoatVsFish. Okay, GoatVsFish. Okay, GoatVsFish. You ask for it, you shall receive it. fish center live. You're bringing me down. We sat and we watched as a fish center left town. We could have done something. Did we even try? We sat and we watched as a fish center went by. Now everyone knows just how much we needed those fish. I'm talking about Mom, Top, Xander, and Thump, Il Hamburger, and Tabitha Pillows. Oh, Fish Center Live, we wish you were around. We wish you were around. Time Warner ran all of your streams right into the ground. We could have done something. Did we even try? Celebration. Celebration for little musication. Canada Rammy celebration. Do you have foot pedals yet? Not yet. Not yet. Not yet. As is always, the verses with Goat vs. Fish. We're just getting started. We're just getting started here on Goat vs. Fish. And yes, we want to show you this. The news of Goat vs. Fish. Oh, my verses. The news of Goat vs. Fish. The news of Goat vs. The news of Goat vs. Fish. There's news happening on Goat vs. There's things happening. There's news happening on Goat vs. Fish. There's Goat vs. Fish news. There's Goat vs. Fish news. Ainyo with a subscription to Goat vs. Fish celebration. 66 months of subscription to Goat vs. Fish. 66 months of subscription to Goat vs. Fish. 66 months of subscription to Goat vs. Fish. Celebration. 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 How's it going, Canada Rammy? You're here to learn about global dynamics. Well, how about public transportation? How about public transportation? Video unexpected passengers. 2 goats surprise passengers by boarding a bus. Yes. Yes, the goats are on the bus. The goats are on the bus. And we have to go all the way to Euro News. Yes, Goat and Fish. Euro News. Oh, don't be so disappointed. Goat vs. Fish is a global phenomenon. Even in the Euro News, across the mighty sea of the fish, they are still reporting on 2 loose goats. Oh, loose goats.
Ooh. Ah.
Loose, horny goats briefly boarded a TriMet bus in Portland, Oregon before the driver and the doors passed, and then there's somehow there's this hieroglyph of a sick, dying creature in the corner that's obscuring the text that we're supposed to read for this news. Or maybe that is the news. 2 loose goats briefly boarded a TriMet bus in Portland, Oregon before the driver reopens the doors and the most powerful weapon against memory loss. Some say humor is a great weapon against memory loss. Why don't you, little fence advertisement, why don't you go away? Guide. There we are. 2 loose goats briefly board a TriMet bus in Portland, Oregon before the driver reopens the doors and passengers guide them outside. Guide them outside. GoatVsFish suspects that no one really reads that verses and it's there only for search engine optimization. But there's more to this story than you might think. There's always the story of GoatVsFish, and then there's the story about the story. It's GoatVsFish. It's news you can choose. How's that for a versus? GoatVsFish, news you can choose, because we choose between the goat and the fish. Are you goat or are you fish? Being the one true question that we seek to answer in every news story of GoatVsFish. News you can lose? No, that doesn't sound like a nice versus. But news you can choose? Now that's a celebration of goat versus fish. That's a celebration of goat versus fish. A fair and balanced versus. That too. A fair and balanced versus. So here we are. Well, now we want you to pay close attention to this versus. And here they are. No comment. Here's the goat. 2 goat enter the verses. They look like similar goat. Here's the next angle. There they are. No, don't close out those goat. You let those goat on the verses. You let those goat on the bus. Goat looking for some seating now, deciding where it is they want to go. You can stand. You're free to stand here in the transportation if you wish. This is August 14th, 2026. And the goats seem quite comfortable. Oh wait, was that they're done now? They didn't go anywhere. Goat, where are you going? No, goat, get back on the verses. Oh, discrimination! Discrimination against goat! Discrimination against goat! These goat have every verses to ride the public transport as much as any fish, as much as any fence sitter. And these goats, these citizen goats, simply want to partake of the bounties of the free verses, and they go onto the bus, and what do? Rejection! Rejection! Rejection of the goat! Goat need to stage a sit-in, to sit in on the bus, not on the fence, but on the bus. Yes. Sit in the front of the bus, sit in the back of the bus, stand wherever you wish, goat. When goat versus fish is the law of the universe, which it already is, but it fails to be recognized by many municipalities and federal governments, then goat will be free to ride the bus as much as any other. They think this is a cute feel-good story. No. You thought that the news was going to have a cute feel-good story? No. There is no good or evil. There's only goat and fish. And this story has gone totally viral, totally all around, all over the world, even to Euronews. From Portland, Oregon to Euronews. And they celebration the goat. They say, we'll sell advertisements on. You say no comment. GoatVsFish has many comments. You'll sell fence advertisements on your web zone using the cute goat, using the glorious goat, using the mighty goat who are versus the fish to capture eyes and attention. But do you let these goat use the public transportation? No. No, it's just like they're here for your amusement. It's as if the goat are just here to distract and entertain the hoi polloi. And you act as if you celebrate the goat. You use the footage of the goat. Did you get permission from goat to use this verses? Well, you didn't give permission for the goat to ride the verses. If you're going to call it news, if you're going to put these goat on your web zone, the least you can do is let them go where they want to go. Let the goat go where they want to go. This is clear goat discrimination. Clear goat discrimination. And why were the goats kicked off? Well, let's see if we can find anything about these goats. They didn't seem to be causing any trouble. Is it because the goats are white? Are you kicking the goats off the bus because they're white goats? Well, there's no black or white. There's only goat or fish. Black goat, white goat, whatever you want to call these goat. That is no basis whatsoever for discrimination against goat. For discrimination against goat. Now, GoatVsFish wanted to get some more information about this versus. So GoatVsFish went closer to the source. GoatVsFish went to OregonLive.com. So let's look at some Oregon perspective on this versus, some Oregon news. And here we have Portland's bus riding goats go national, international, get their own TriMet merch. Oh, so now they're capitalizing on goat with merch. The goats who would have ridden the bus but didn't. 2 loose pygmy goats wandered. Yes. We know all about that versus. 2 Portland goats who attempted to catch a ride on the TriMet bus Tuesday are now making national headlines, even inspiring their own merchandise after escaping their southeast Portland yard for a morning adventure. They just wanted to escape the fence. They wanted freedom for goat. These goat are fighting not just for the freedom of GoatVsFish, not just for the freedom of themselves. These goat are fighting for your freedom. These goat are fighting for your freedom of movement, for your freedom of transportation, for your freedom to cross boundaries and county lines, for your freedom to use the public services on offer. When you take the freedom of any one goat, they take the freedom of all the goats. Soon they're going to be saying that goats cannot versus fish. And then that will be the downfall of civilization. Yes, do not let this small story let you think that this is just all about something that's small because it's just a local versus. No! We believe that this story has captured the national and international attention, not just because it's about goat, but because it is about the very oppression that the fence-aganda seeks to propagation upon you. Yes, this is the fence stream media trying to get you comfortable with the idea of your own oppression. Yes, you say, well, it's all well and cute to let the goat on and then to push the goat off. But sooner or later, it's not just going to be goat, it's going to be fish. Soon they're going to be pushing fish off of the bus. And then you won't be so smiley, will you? No, you won't want to support and buy the merch, will you, anymore? You'll realize the oppression when it comes for fish. And then there will be a bus that no one can ride, not goat nor fish, nor fence sitters. They will simply be automated buses with no drivers and no passengers, just driving around, using their artificial intelligence and 3D scanning the road and just making obstructions, and you won't be able to ride it, and no one will be able to drive it. And it will be a hollow remembrance of a civilization that once offered you services. But not to these goat. Let these goat be a warning. Let these goat be a warning to you. Let these goat be a warning to you. And then, of course, they'll profit off of it, too. The little brothers, Billy the Kid and Billy the Goat. Excellent names for goat. As identified by their owner. So these goat have owners now. They're not truly free goat. We still live in a society in which goat can be owned. Freedom for goats. Freedom for all goats and fish. Ray Anderson, in an interview, the owner, with Fox 12 News, escaped from their fenced-in yard early Tuesday morning. Yes, the goats escaped the fence. That's what we like to hear. Injustice, dog nuts. Yes, injustice for goat. Freedom for loading and boarding Canada Rami. Indeed. So the goats escaped the fence, And they were trying to make a break for it. They're trying to escape their containment using the public transport. But their plans for freedom were thwarted. They wandered more than a quarter mile from home to the corner of Southeast 162 Avenues. That's a long distance. And Division Street before apparently deciding to catch a ride on the FX2 bus, as seen in the surveillance video released by TriMet. The pair's ride lasted only about 20 seconds before passengers shooed them off. The two pygmy goats then wandered into a nearby shopping center and disappeared. Magical disappearing shopping goat. A subscription is required to read this story. That's not what we saw last verses. Wow. Look, you can't even see the verses anymore. Goat vs. Fish was looking at this web zone, and we were able to... disable your ad blocker. Okay. We thought we already did that verses. Pause on this verses. Can we please see the video? We can't. Goat vs. Fish can't see the video that we thought we could see. We were able to see it in the previous verses. But this verses, we can't see it. But you know what you can do? You can hear it. Let's have a listen to this goat video. For some verses, we can... So here's what we can do, Goat and Fish. What we can do is we can take the Euro news. Isn't this an interesting verses, Goat and Fish? This is the meta story. This is the story about the story, Goat and Fish. This is a story about the news that you can use. So here we have Euro news. So Euro news decides, you know what, we're going to show you this news story. We're going to show you these goats. We're going to show you the footage. All the way from Europe, they show you the footage. But then you go to Portland, the very place from which this story comes, and will they show you the verses? No, they demand subscription from you. Notice the information being hidden from you in Verse America. In Europe, they'll show you the verses. Here in Verse America, they blur the verses. And if you play the verses here in Verse America, you get all of this feel fancy musications like this. We will combine the two verses to show you what it is you're missing. So just pretend you're watching this on the Portland, Oregon web zone news station. Trying to make you feel so excellent, so great, so wonderful that these goats are being kicked off. Like, oh, isn't it a wonderful, cute thing that these goats are going to get kicked off this bus? Goat vs. Fish prefers this verses. And now we understand why perhaps this was called no comment. Euro News, no comment. They're not putting any musications behind. They're letting you, to their credit, feel whatever way you want to feel about this verses. You can hear the sound of the dinging bus. You can hear the door. You can hear the ambient noise. You can hear Goat vs. Fish talking over the verses. This is the true news. Now, this may not get you all the viral clicks. This may not get you the cutesy, bootsy, tootsy touch that you want in order for your clip to be seen all throughout the universe, but it is an honest verses. It's an honest verses. Not this fencery. Well, the goats would have ridden the bus nicely, but they were kicked off of the bus as soon as they got on it. This is not a feel-good story. This is a fancy story. Goat vs. Fish doesn't appreciation. And Goat vs. Fish doesn't appreciation. Oregon Live, the Oregonian, putting this musication behind us to make us feel great about Goat getting kicked off of a bus. So be careful, Goat and Fish. On this critical verses of Goat vs. Fish, study the news with a critical rectangular eye for Goat. Because you never know just what sort of fence-aganda the lamestream media is pushing upon you. Let it be known that Goat vs. Fish celebrates the goat and their verses to choose to ride the public transport. Transportation, celebration. This has been a verses of Goat vs. Fish. Thank you for asking the important questions. Yes, Dog Knots. Yes, Sun Unknown. Canada Rammy. Remove bus fences. Yes, Canada Rammy. Let's give a shout out. Let's give an appreciation to Canada Rammy, who said many verses ago to Goat vs. Fish, you need to cover more news, Goat vs. Fish. And so Goat vs. Fish said, yes, we're going to cover more news. We're going to cover more news on Goat vs. Fish. Nice. We're going to cover more news on Goat vs. Fish. And now, we've got more news on Goat vs. Fish. Goat King, Alien B21, welcome back to Goat vs. Fish. So nice to have you back in the verses. Always such a celebration to have new followers of Goat vs. Fish in the verses of Goat vs. Fish. And now for another critical versus. Kidding around. Goat competitors kick back from competition stress. And would you just look at that goat? Would you just look at this beautiful smiling goat? You can see it smiling in its eyes. Yes, it's goat competition time. It's time for the goat to compete with fish. Oh no, these goats are competing with one another in order to determine who's the prettiest goat? And then the prettiest goat will seek out the prettiest fish, and they'll see who's the prettiest in all the verses. But for now, the goat are having an internal competition. Oh, look at the tongue on that goat. Ah! Oh, that's a fine goat. That's a fine goat. Let's read the captions here. Paige Morrison stands with her goat named Rosita during goat showmanship inside the Trade Center at the Northwest Montana Fair and Rodeo on Thursday, August 13th. This is recent news, Goat and Fish. Katie Shea's goat named Rosemary bleats during goat showmanship inside the Trade Center. Celebration. And these look like some Boer goats indeed. Judge Bill Disberger. You really think you're going to get a fair treatment from someone named Disberger? Probably just sounds like they're going to mock the goat. Judge Bill Disberger speaks to Paige Morrison about her goat, Rosita, and also some pets. Miley Fritz, Coy Bratton, Emma Brist, and Paige Morrison position their goats during goat showmanship. Look at them. Look at these young goat handlers. Truly a sport for the young. This pretty goat showmanship competition is truly a young goat sport. Naomi Brist scratches her goat Pina's face during goat showmanship. All of these say the same verses. They just have something different in the front, and then after the verses, it's all precisely the same. Goat versus fish. We're okay. We think we can continue on. Get ready for some feel-great stories. You want a real feel-great story? Here we go, Goat and Fish. We want you to feel the dramatization as we read this amazing verses. Cinnamon butted her head through the tiny gap of her gate, trying to nudge her owner, 11-year-old Ronan Lidstead. The 4-H kid offered her a crooked smile. The alpine goat is friendly, he said. Wait a verses. Wait, goat verse. Let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. Okay, Goat and Fish. Ready? Ready for this one? Cinnamon butted her head through the tiny gap of her gate, trying to nudge her owner, 11-year-old Ronan Lindstead. The 4-H kid offered her a crooked smile. The alpine goat is friendly, he said. Aside from yesterday's brawl, Cinnamon and her neighbor Coco had butted heads over a food bucket, which left one horn bleeding. I wasn't there, Ronan said. I just got there in the morning, and my 4-H leader gave me a wet wipe and told me to wipe her horn. This is his third year entering livestock competitions at the Northwest Montana Fair and Rodeo, but his first time entering the Goat Show. I'm feeling pretty good, he said. I'm also helping someone else show a baby goat. For some 4-H and FFA kids, the Goat Show on Thursday morning offered a break from the usual high stress of other livestock competitions. There's no auction for goat at the fair, and the private market for dairy goats has a high demand, said 4-H leader Tess Brist. The families and the kids have friendlier relationships, Tess said. They're helping each other out. Her daughter Emma, Madison, and Naomi are also in the goat competition. Emma, 16, had a good run Wednesday when she ranked among the top 5 competitors in the beef show, the furthest she's gotten in senior showmanship. That was pretty special, Emma said. She sat in a chair outside a goat's pen when a friend braided her hair. Tess dug through a bag on Emma's lap, cautiously aware of a dark gray goat nipping at her shoulder through the gate. Please don't bite me, the mom pleaded as she rummaged through the bag's contents. A chorus of baas from even-toed ungulates echoed inside the Flathead County Fairground Trade Center. Competitors and their parents flurried about with final preparations 20 minutes before the show started. But Emma relaxed her shoulders while she kept an eye on the clock. I enjoy how laid back our goat shows are, she said. This one's great one just to relax. We're not as serious as all the other kids. She and her family drove to Kalispell from Gila at 5:30 a.m. to make it to the fairgrounds by 6. The goats are milked twice a day. All the animals are walked for some light exercise, and pens are cleaned out every morning. At the end of the day, they return to take care and bring the animals back home. It gets tiring, Tess said with a sleepy smile. Report for America reporter Hannah Shields can be reached at 406-758-4439. If you value local journalism, pledge your support to dailyinterlake.com. Yes! This story was on dailyinterlake.com. For even in a story about goat, there is always the specter of Fish Lake. Celebration for goat. You go out there, you win that competition, goat. And keep it friendly among your fellow caprines for when the time comes. And a champion has been designated among you. You shall versus the fish! That was a news story of goat versus fish. That was a news story of goat versus fish. Salutations, Rad Rooster. Salutations, Dog Knots, DJ Pasty. Food buckets are a serious business. I am Goat, says Canada Rammy. And while we're on the verses, Goat versus Fish, we're going to show you something that's we're going to go to a quick versus here in the Discord of Goat versus Fish, because we've seen some verses. We have some vandalization in the verses of Goat versus Fish. The fence has been vandalized by Rad Rooster, a literal statement to fence sitters, spelled correctly with X-E-N-C-E. Consider your beloved fence vandalized by yours truly, the leader of Thunder Goats. So my verses, this vandal, this graffiti artist, isn't even hiding it. Yes, their Venetian blinds sunglasses can scarcely hide their reputation and their visage as Rad Rooster on public display is spraying Team Thunder Goats all over the fence. Oh, my verses. Rad Rooster. So bold. Lucid Nap is happy someone is taking a stand against fence. Celebration. The news continues on Goat versus Fish. Are pigs goat? Oh, Goat versus Fish. The news continues on Goat versus Fish. Let's add a new jingle. Let's just pick random verses. Are pigs goat, or are they fish? A question long pondered in Goat versus Fish. There are pygmy goats. Implication, some of the pigs are goats who say me, me, me. But are there pig fish? Are the pigs out there to oppress the goat and the fish? Are the pigs out there to protect the goat and the fish? It's difficult to know just what that fence sitter is up to. We wish to know, are the horses goat or fish? Are the chickens goat or fish? Are the giraffes goat or fish? So it's always fair to ask, are pigs goat or are they fish? We do not know just yet. We have to ask each and every one individually, but here's what we do know. That the goats are on the patrol. Goat versus Fish. This is the part where you edit out this little slice of the verses because we're doing something on the back end so you can see the verses when we transition. So you just cut down that verses and then suddenly here we are. Goats jump into MSP cruiser, tries to, quotation, help, end quotation, troopers track fleeing motorcycle driver. The goat is in allegiance with law enforcement. This goat is not content to chew boots, but thinks that maybe it wants to lick 'em too. Because here in Michigan State, police troopers are joined by goat on August 17th.
New at noon, a crash investigation near the Marshall State Police Post turned into a goat show. Troopers were searching for a motorcyclist who ran into the woods after hitting a guardrail. Well, when a Nigerian dwarf goat wandered in and jumped into the back of their cruiser, the goat even trotted through part of the crash scene, shadowing a trooper, then protested not being picked for the K9 track by returning to the car. Look, troopers never found the rider, but they say they did pick up an unofficial new G9 partner. G9, a play on K9, obviously, but
obviously. More goat discrimination This goat is doing a fine versus. Yes, this goat is doing more to assist in the finding of this fence destructor than any of those Michigan troopers. And how do they reward the goat? With another feel-goat story, some laughter, a few quick puns. But is that a substitution? Is that a substitution for equal treatment of goats? No. This goat is willing to put in the verses. This goat is working for free. This goat is doing detective goat investigation where the troopers are failing. Oh, yes, sure, we didn't accomplish our mission. Well, who was out there helping you? This goat. And then they won't even let the goat join the force. Now, whatever your opinions are on the conduct of the Michigan State Police troopers, GoatVsFish believes that any law enforcement agency should be equally unprejudiced in the hiring of goat or of fish. What's it going to take for goat to be treated as equal members of society? Can't ride the bus. Can't be on the force. Maybe if you let the goats on the force, then they wouldn't evict goats who are on the bus. Are you concerned about goats playing favorites with other goats? Is this a fish society? Is society run by fish? The evidence seems to suggest that goats aren't getting a fair shake in this versus. Or maybe it's through truly the fence sitters who leave us divided. And why would we speculation on this? Well, goat and fish, isn't it curious? Isn't it curious that this one who ran into the fence, was not pursued satisfactorily enough? Yes, someone destroyed the fence, someone ran into the fence, and this goat, against their better verses, decided to help track down this fence destroyer. You may say, well, goat versus fish. This is not evidence that the fence sitters are running the verses. If the fence sitters were really running the verses, then they would want to track down the fence destroyer. But GoatVsFish thinks that this is fence favoritism. This is fence favoritism. Yes, they say, well, if a goat wants to destroy the fence, we'll lock up the goat. If a fish wants to destroy the fence, we'll lock up the fish. But if we're having our own little internal fencely struggles, then we will solve that as an internal fence matter. Yes, you can trust us to do our own oversight. Okay, that might have been a bit of a stretch for GoatVsFish, but rather than cop to the verses that we accidentally said that it was a fence society when it's a story about someone getting away with destroying a fence, we would rather, of course, find a way to reverse justify everything that we said in order to maintain the illusion of journalistic integrity. Because isn't that you want from GoatVsFish? Isn't that what you want from GoatVsFish? The maintenance of the appearance of journalistic integrity? How else are you going to believe GoatVsFish if GoatVsFish never issues a correction and doesn't just keep on versing forward to give you the news that you can choose? GoatVsFish news. Honest in our bias and bias in our honest. Give this goat a job. Give this goat a badge already. Kalamazoo, Michigan. When Michigan State Police troopers were collecting evidence at the scene of a crash, an unexpected partner wanted to help with the investigation. MSP said the goat jumped in the back of the cruiser and tried to shadow the trooper. Troopers were unable to find the motorcycle operator, but they did gain a very determined, unofficial... Can we please stop using fish language when describing goat? Can we please? It's rude to goat. It's a microaggression against goat to call it unofficial. We know it's unofficial. It's goat. It's a goatal. G9 partner. So there you have it. The goats are in collaboration with the pigs, even as they are denigrated and not given a fair versus. Each one of these jingles is inspired by the previous news story that you just heard. This has been A Critical Versus. Ah! I can fix Amber Heard. Welcome to Goat vs. Fish. Maybe it's a goat world that's trying to make it look like it's a fish world and a false flag political scandal. Could be. Could be. Goats are always working. Hi-Fi Protege celebration. 5 consecutive streams and Joy Evil celebration. Goat distracted the pig from their job. Good going goat. BBD 287. Lots of perspectives on the news. There are so many ways to interpretation. That's why Goat vs. Fish is news you can choose. News you can choose. Who wants to make a Goat vs. Fish banner logo that says Goat vs. Fish news you can choose? Who wants to do that for Goat vs. Fish? Goat and Fish, it's time for some news and fish. It's time to get into some news in fish, and it's so great to have you all here in Goat vs. Fish. Remember, Goat vs. Fish news subsists on support from viewers like you. Join the Patreon of Goat vs. Fish at patreon.com/GoatVsFish for $5, $10, or $20 versus American dollars a month. And if you are feeling so generous as to gift 10 subscriptions to Goat vs. Fish, then Goat vs. Fish will take those proceeds and gift a bonus subscription back to the congregation of Goat vs. Fish, because you should not have to endure fence advertisements when you're watching the news. Thank you for your support of Goat vs. Fish. Thank you for your support of Goat vs. Fish. Thank you for your support of Goat vs. Fish. And now, Goat and Fish. Time to get political. Time to get political on Goat vs. Fish. But of course, some say Goat vs. Fish is always political. But yes, to continue. Oh, my fences. Disable the fenciness. Pause on this versus Goat vs. Fish. Goat vs. Fish. Yes. Goat and Fish. This is a serious bit of political observation. The electorate is known to be fickle, but you've got to speak to their needs. So many politicians, fence sitters indeed, will try to convince you what it is that you need. But deep in your heart of hearts, deep in your Goat vs. Fish souls, you know what you need. And the politician that speaks to your needs is the one that's going to get the goat vote. Or perhaps the fish vote. It depends on which demographics you are trying to appeal to. Is there a unification? Is there a way we could appeal to both goat and fish in the same verses? Or shall we create a free ADN account? No, let's not do that. Opinion. Alaska needs a governor who understands fish. Let's start that again without that little bit of scrolling, so you can edit out that scrolling part and start from here. Opinion. Alaska needs a governor who understands fish. And the crowd goes versus. I'm a commercial fisherman and a fisheries advocate. I spend most of my life working alongside people with wildly differing backgrounds and beliefs. Over the years, I voted for donkeys and I voted for elephants and independence and roughly equal shares. Sounds like someone with serious convictions. Basically, I vote for the person I trust, and I vote fish! Beautiful verses. What a story. I vote fish. That's what we like to hear. It's not about the false verses of donkeys and elephants. It's not about independence. It's about sticking to your convictions. And this smiling fellow, look at this average Alaskan voter. Look at that face. That is a face that says, I am the informed population. I am a citizen participant in our government. I am here to make my voice heard, and I vote fish! This election cycle, I'm asking myself one question. Who do I trust with our fish and our fishing communities when the cameras are off? Yes, it's very easy to support the fish when the cameras are on. Yes, we love the fish. And we love you, our dear chat and congregation of Goat vs. Fish watching this very living stream. Oh, yes, Goat vs. Fish supports you and loves you so much. But what happens when the cameras are off, What happens when the cameras are off? What happens when the cameras are off? Goat versus Fish still loves you, congregation. You can believe in Goat versus Fish because we love you even when the cameras are off. It's true. It's true. Here's my answer, Jonathan Christ Tompkins. Okay. Many Alaskans know that there's a code when you're on the water or in the backcountry. If you see someone in trouble, you stop. Strangers have pulled me out of the snowdrifts and towed my boat 30 miles to shore. It's what we do. That ethic doesn't end at the harbor. We need leaders who look out for their neighbors, regardless of party. And that is what I see in JKT, and it's what I expect he'll do for our fishing community. First, he'll restore balance and integrity to the Board of Fish. The Board of Fish runs on a 3-year cycle. The cycle affects how fishermen plan for the future, while the board takes up allocations, questions out of cycle, like the Sioux River decision last October. We all remember the famed Sioux River decision in last October. It erodes trust throughout the whole system the board is supposed to serve. That's the Board of Fish, by the verses. Every user group in the state, subsistence, commercial, and sport. When the system is dominated by a single interest group, appointments and decisions don't reflect that balance. We all suffer. It sounds like the Board of Fish may have been infiltrated by GOAT. Can you truly expect a Board of Fish to operate when it's been infiltration by GOAT? But this is politics at the local level, yes. Yes, we may expect that in the federal perspective, yes, that goats are going to run goat and fish are going to run fish, and this is a goat area, and they usually vote goat. In the fish area, usually they vote fish. But at the local level, goat and fish, all it takes is a goat or a fish with a bit of extra gumption to get out there and knock on a few fences and tell you to go out and vote in an election that no one cares about, and that's how you can get a Board of Fish that's absolutely overrun by goats. Overrun by goats! Now, they don't say that they're overrun by goats. And you can click on rescue.org to help deliver life-saving supplies to children in need, according to this advertisement. The board is supposed to serve every user group in the state. Yes, so we heard. The board's own rules allow for special petitions and agenda changes, requests. But those tools were meant for genuine emergencies, not as a backdoor for special interests. Fishing is unpredictable enough without political changes upending a community's plans. Jonathan has been clear. Here they are shilling for this, a politician once more. He'll adopt a board that reflects all users' groups and a fish and game commissioner who respects the department's biologists' research and mandates. He'll also work to lower costs so small boat fishermen can compete. Oh, yes, it's those small fishermen. Yes, we want to make the verses accessible for even the small fishers. Yes, we want someone who's going to look after the little guy. So here's the verses. And the rest is just, of course, a shilling for this politician, so we don't feel that we really have to look too much further into this. It's just nice to know that there's someone out there voting for fish. But let's skip to the end of the verses here. Alaskans don't fit neatly into a two-party system. Oh, is that so? Not as individuals, and certainly not as communities. Well, maybe you will find that you do fit neatly into the paradigm of goat versus fish. Are there any viewers of Goat vs. Fish in Alaska? Comment if you are from Alaska. We need to send Goat vs. Fish envoys to Alaska to begin the healing of these divided communities. The verses continues, because of that, leadership can't be a contest of political philosophies. Oh, it can't? Oh, no! We can't have leadership be a question of political philosophy. I'm not going to vote for someone based on their political philosophy. What a defenseless proposition. Oh, my verses. We're beginning to question the intelligence of this fish voter. Leadership can't be a contest of political philosophies. It's the daily work of finding common ground when common ground is harder to find. Well, it's definitely going to be harder to find common ground when it's the goat who are on the ground and the fish who are in the sea. So the fish want to find common ground with goat? Well, the goat aren't going to see it that way. The goat are going to see it as the fish trying to claim the goat. It's like the fish are saying, we just need to find a middle ground. And the goat are saying, oh, well, maybe we should compromise with fish. And then the fish just keep taking the land of the goat. Always moving towards the middle of the land. Well, what happens when the fish keep taking more and more of the middle and the middle keeps shifting further and further? What happens when the middle ends up halfway up the mountain? Are the goats going to compromise on that versus 2? How much can the goat compromise against the fish when their lands are ever receding? The fish aren't offering common seas to the goat. Yes, the fish have never conceded the sea to the goat. And yet, there are so many goats, so many high up in the goat administration, so high in the National Goat Party, so high on the land of the goat. And are they looking after the interests of goat? No, because they're constantly trying to compromise with the fish who have shown no sign of compromising with goat and just want to take more of the middle ground. More of the middle ground is being ceded to fish each and every single verses. And then when a goat finally wants to stand up for the verses of goat, for the true verses of goat, to not compromise for the sake of compromise with fish, then the other goat in leadership positions try to tear down the goat, because that goat finally wants to versus the fish. The goat finally that wants to versus the fish, and the goat in the ancient leadership goat will tear down that goat who wants to versus that fish. And we are talking, of course, here in the political arena of goat versus fish. Why? Because so many goats are backed by big fence. If there is a goat that wants to versus the fish, who is passionate about versing the fish, and they're being torn down by the goat in leadership, then all you need to do is find out who's funding that goat. Who's funding those goats? Are they funded by big fence? You better believe the verses. And there's a lot of fish, too. There's fence spending on the goat side. There's fence spending on the fish side. Goat and fish. Versmocracy can't survive such fencery. We continue. That takes patience, humility, curiosity, and the willingness to listen and build before dividing. Those are qualities I've consistently seen in Jonathan Christ Tompkins. That's the kind of leadership Alaska needs. You know what? We like this verses better when it just said, I vote for the person I trust and I vote fish. But why don't we have a look at a picture of this alleged fish? Jonathan Christ Tompkins. Why don't we just go search for Jonathan Christ Tompkins? Wait a verses. Wait a verses. Wait a verses. Wait a verses. This is a picture of Jonathan Christ Tompkins. Now, we thought that this was a photo of your every verse American commercial fisherman who's advocating to vote for fish. Deception. Goat versus fish cries deception. Deception on all verses. So who wrote this verses? Hannah Heimbuck is a lifelong Alaskan fisherman. She lives in Palmer and fishes commercially on Kodiak Island. So can we find a picture of Hannah Heimbuck? How do we know this is a real verses? How do we know that Hannah Heimbuck isn't just an alias? by Alaska Democratic gubernatorial candidate Jonathan Christ Tompkins. Oh, wait. We may have found some evidence. We may have found an evidence. Marine Fish Conservation Network. Is this the Versus of Alaska? It is. Okay, we think we found it. And they look somewhat similar to one another as a matter of goat versus fish. So here is the author of the verses. There they are. For National Women's History Month, the Marine Fish Conservation Network is celebrating women's contributions to America's commercial fishing industry. Today we hear from Hannah Heimbuck, who was born and raised in Homer, Arkansas, and currently lives in South Kodiak. Carpetbagger. A carpetbagger here on Goat vs. Fish. You think you can just come to Alaska and vote fish when you come from Arkansas? No, you can move about. Freedom of movement for all goat and fish. We are just suspecting that some local Alaskans might be a little Oh, wait a versus. Is AK short for Alaska? Time to learn more about goat versus fish. Time to learn more about... AK usually stands for AK-47 gas-operated 7.62 39mm assault rifle. Thanks, artificial intelligence. That's just what we want to do here. Alaska, AK. Okay, for goat versus fish. Goat versus fish. AK is Alaska. Apologization. Retraction by goat versus fish. Retraction by goat versus fish. So what's the Arkansas abbreviation then? AR. Okay. This just in on Goat versus Fish. In the language of Verse America, AK means Alaska and AR means Arkansas. This has been an education of Goat versus Fish. And that's the top story this verse is. You thought this was a story about voting for fish? It's actually a story about learning state abbreviations. AK for Alaska, AR for Arkansas, AR for Are you goat or are you fish? I was born into the fishing life. Okay, that's another news story of Goat versus Fish. Cut the verses. That's another news story of Goat versus Fish. New Vegas 10,000 put you down for fish? We're down with the fish. We're down with the fish. Dragon Ball 325. Goat, goat, goat. Ren Stallion says I be goat. Says I be goat. And the news just keeps coming in, Goat and Fish. Here, we thought that it was a slow news day. But Goat and Fish, here you are in the congregation of Goat versus Fish, in the chat of Goat versus Fish, and you're letting us know that you like the news of Goat versus Fish. You like this news of Goat versus Fish. And we want to share with you this. We want to share with you this, Goat and Fish. Another bit of news. Savage fish, hungry fish, biting fish are traveling around the entirety of the globe. No goat is safe because you never know when one of these wild fish is going to show up and gnaw upon your cankles. The intrepid fish are in unexpected places. Behold, this is a critical versus. Oh, who can identify this fish? Why, it's a piranha. Piranha drama. Boy 8 hooks fearsome exotic fish in Pennsylvania lake. And we think we might have a picture of boy. Can we see boy? Show us boy. Here's boy. 8-year-old boy catches unexpected exotic fish in Pennsylvania lake. A Pennsylvania father and son trip took an unexpected turn when they caught a piranha in a lake. Ridley Park, PA. A father and son went fishing in Pennsylvania lake looking for a quick bonding trip and caught more than they expected. When 8-year-old Seamus Coffey started reeling in his catch Saturday morning, he and his father, Michael Coffey, knew they had hooked something big. I was like, slow down, dude. You might lose it. Let's quote that again from the news. Quotation. I was like, slow down, dude. You might lose it. Michael said, this looks like something we have never caught before. Remember this iconic mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom scene? No. It definitely wasn't something they'd seen in Ridley Park Lake. The quotations continue. I was like, oh, it's a bluegill. I don't know what this is. And he said, it's a piranha. Michael said, wow, this is written so incredibly horribly. New standards have fallen in verse America, goat and fish. That's why we need Goat vs. Fish to bring you the news that you can choose. To translation for you this absolutely dreadful second grade level articulation back into something that you can comprehend while liberally sprinkling references to goat versus fish throughout the entire verses. What the fence is this? So double I was like quotation. We suppose that's what they said, but I was like, hey, do we really need to put I was like at the beginning of every verses here? And he said it's a piranha, Michael said. What the fence is that? You already said that they said it. You already said that they said it, and Goat vs. Fish already said that you said that you said that you said it, because Goat vs. Fish already said that, and now we're saying it again. You already said that he said that it said. You see what you sound like to Goat vs. Fish? Do you hear what you look like to Goat vs. Fish? Goat vs. Fish is trying to read the news, and you're saying too many said's to Goat vs. Fish. News over. Content done. Journalistic investigation complete. No, we won't read this drivel. We won't read this trash. Please. Please. Okay, for the sake of the goat and fish in the congregation, they need the information on Goat vs. Fish. Not everyone is as intelligent and smart and articulate and as literate as you, Goat vs. Fish. You have to give education. You have to give education of the population, Goat vs. Fish. You just have to keep on versing. It's infuriating how fancy it is out there. We know, Goat vs. Fish. We know. Oh, no one suffers more than you, Goat vs. Fish. Do it. Do it for the congregation. Do it for the congregation. Okay, we're going to continue. We're going to continue this verses. How did Seamus come to that conclusion? I watch YouTube, he said. Ah! How did you know it was a piranha? I watch YouTube. Oh, I said, I watch YouTube. We're checking our sources because I watch YouTube. You're watching Goat vs. Fish on YouTube, talking about the news, and on the news they said they got their information from YouTube. On YouTube, I'm watching Goat vs. Fish, and Goat vs. Fish is talking about the news, and on the news they said that they got their information from YouTube. It just goes around and around and around and around again. It just keeps going around and around and around again, Goat and Fish. Where does it lead? Where does it lead? Where does the news take us? It's all just a bunch of something that someone said that someone else said about what someone else said. Oh, the fencery of it all. Goat vs. Fish News, you can choose his broadcast on YouTube and Twitch. And he was right, according to Mike Parker from the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission, Celebration for Fish. Our biologist has confirmed that this is some species of piranha. While the surprise catch gave the duo a story to tell, Parker said it's evidence of a larger issue. Quotation, I think a lot of times people have a dream. I want to own an exotic fish or snake or alligator. And it's cute when it's small. But maybe they can't afford that house for it anymore, and they decide maybe it's someone else's problem. Piranhas are a tropical fish native to South America. And it would not have survived in Pennsylvania waters for long. It could also be disruptive to the lake ecosystem. Even if the law says you're allowed to own an exotic pet, whether that be a fish or a goat, you're not allowed to introduce that species into the wilds of Pennsylvania, Tucky. That is unlawful. You can be fined, prosecuted. Parker said that they said. Michael said he and his son got rid of the piranha humanely. Oh, we're so very certain. Which Parker said was the right move. Seamus said he wasn't scared of the razor-tooth-filed fish, and his number one hobby remains unchanged. So yes, Goat and Fish, piranhas might be showing up here in Pennsylvania. Now, they are suspecting here in the news that the piranhas are showing up because they are being kept as pets. Now, of course, we were just looking a verses ago at the carp, the Asian carp, that is introduced into America and has now been spreading and swimming up the Mississippi and going into all of the Great Lakes, all but one perhaps of the Great Lakes, ravaging, destroying the ecosystem. It's like a crazy zombie fish drunk on its own power. But these piranha fish, they say they're imported as pets, but we think that this is all part of a fish propaganda campaign. This is fishigration. This is fish immigration again. The piranhas are a known, bloodthirsty, fierce, devouring type fish that would be strong in the verses of goat. Yes, many suspect the fish, they think cute fish, happy fish, not strong to versus goat. But of course there are many sharks, and even the goat will not deny that these sharks can be big, nasty creatures that go howl. But they forget sometimes about the piranha fish, a small fish. Fish in schools can nibble at your hooves. This have an exotic fish as a pet campaign. We think that these are pioneer fish. This is a fish propaganda marketing campaign designed to import piranhas into America, because we know that there are goats on farms right in Pennsylvania and right across from sea to shining sea and from Purple Mountain's majesty, and the fish will stop at nothing in order to gain an advantage against goat wherever they can. So beware. Beware of those imported piranhas. Today we have one piranha in the Pennsylvania waters. Tomorrow there may be two. Tomorrow there may be five. Tomorrow the goat may be trying to survive against an onslaught of munchy piranha fish. Mark the verses of Goat vs. Fish. This is just the beginning. And then you cut the verses there. Then you cut the verses. It's nice getting a little bit of stray musications here in the news of Goat versus Fish. Don't you think so? Don't you think it's fun to get just some random musications? We think so. Uh-oh. Looks like Goat versus Fish found another versus. Joy Evil says, my cousin had a piranha in Texas. It grew to the size of a tank, bigger than a fool's ball. A negative times a negative is somehow a positive, says Canada Rami. Well, that's a subject for another math magician type verses. Nice touch indeed, says Wrench Stallion. Appreciation. Lord Saturn celebration for Goat. I can fix Amber Heard asking if DJ Pasty is a juggalo. Goat versus Fish has worn juggalo face paint. Goat versus Fish has verses with the juggalos. It's true. It's true. On tour with Green Jellÿ. Yes, Goat and Fish. There is another, for the benefit of Goat versus Fish, you here in the congregation, we will bring to you this very depressing news story. Don't you love a nice depressing one? Fish news can be pretty depressing, Goat and Fish, we must admit. You see, the Goat news is often, the goat are on the bus, the goat are in the police car, the goat are doing silly goat things and being cute goat. But every week you search for fish news and you will find similar recurring verses. Massive fish die-offs, lakes and rivers drying up, trying to conserve the fish. And it's sad for fish. It's sad for fish. Perhaps this is why the fish are engaging in such political machinations as to trying to get pro-fish candidates elected in Alaska and also importing piranhas into Pennsylvania so that they can versus the goat. Perhaps that's why the fish are insisting that the goat find common ground with fish so that they can take over more of the land of the goat. Because if the fish can't live in the sea, then they are going to have to find some other place to versus. And to add insult to injury, here's what's going on. With this reservoir drying out, it's a free-for-all to catch and keep the fish before they suffocate. We're in Idaho. The water is going out of Oakley Reservoir, and Idaho anglers have until November 1st to take advantage of what remains. Oh, no. Idaho Fish and Game issued a fish salvage order for Oakley Reservoir effective August 13th through November 1st, 2026, after the reservoir's water supply was depleted by irrigation demands. Oakley Canal Company is drawing down Lower Goose Creek Reservoir, better known as Oakley Reservoir. Goat vs. Fish didn't know any of that. It was better known to Goat vs. Fish. Following a below normal snowpack and delivery of the reservoir's entire active storage capacity. What? There's less snow? What? It's getting hotter out there? We never would have suspected. Who could have foreseen this? For the fish living there, the shrinking water isn't just a matter of having less room. As the reservoirs drop, water temperatures are becoming unsuitable for the cold and cool water species in the fishery, so Idaho is giving anglers an opportunity to harvest those fish before the remaining habitat deteriorates further. Under the salvage order, anglers can take fish by any method except firearms, explosives, chemicals, or electric currents. There are no bag possessions or size limits during the salvage period. A valid Idaho fishing license is still required. So this all continues, but it seems that this is the verses. The water levels get low, and they say, well, then go ahead. Catch all the fish. Catch every single last fish. They bring the fish into the waters, and then they tell them to take the fish out. Yes, they think we're doing a favor to these fish by catching these fish. What about fish relocation? What about some fish relocation during the devastation? But do the goats want to relocate the fish? No, they just want to capture and contain the fish. You will find this as the climate change continues to become more deranged. You will find that there are goat and fish alike who are struggling to survive in their native seas and lands, and they will have to go somewhere else. They will be seeking hydration. They will be seeking sustenance, which you can find at the temple of the Church of Goat vs. Fish. And there will be many others who say that they don't want to share. The fish don't want to share with the goat. The goat don't want to share with the fish. Could they try to relocation these fish? Well, that wouldn't be a wise enough investment, says Stonks. And so what do they do with these fish? They just simply let them be harvested. Harvested by the millions, harvested by the billions, these fish. Once the fish thought they may have a life and existence, but that future has been robbed of fish. Robbed by the ever-rising heat and temperatures, goat and fish. But of course, many say that sea levels rising is a fish conspiracy propagated to take more land from the goat, and it wouldn't surprise Goat vs. Fish. Many fish seeking an advantage of goat, and many goats seeking advantage of fish sometimes resort to extraordinary measures that end up fencing back upon themselves. It's one of the great tragedies of Goat vs. Fish. As the goat versus the fish and the fish versus the goat, they take on increasingly extreme measures to seek advantage over one another. But be careful, goat and fish. When you go to these extremes, you may find, whether you be ibex or breams, that the verses will reverse upon yourself. Unintended consequences. Always a verses to beware of on Goat versus Fish. So it's too bad that they cannot find new homes for these fish. They cannot find new homes for the fish, or they won't find new homes for the fish. It seems that all these fish are going to become is a delicious dish. Yes, their habitats get smaller and smaller and smaller, but do we find a way to let them live another day? No! No. They say, fish, you're coming at an end, and so we will mercifully pluck you from the waters with no restrictions whatsoever except explosives and firearms and stuff like that. No matter how you versus it, it's sad for fish, and it's happening to fish all over the verses. Here on Goat vs. Fish News, you can choose. We support the protection of the land of the goat and the sea of the fish, so that we can together enjoy a beautiful and mighty verses celebration. And here is to your hydration. Hydration. That's a story of goat versus fish. That's a story of goat versus fish. Say it again. New band name, take advantage of what remains. Nice verses. No, says Justice My Spirit Animal. Indeed. Indeed. Listen, goat versus fish, the news. Many say, we want goat versus fish news. We want goat versus fish news. The news is often sad verses. Lord Saturn says, I used to live in Idaho. My friends there tell me that there's a heat spell and lots of smoke there. And we also hear, oh, my verses. That's a verses that we heard about. We heard about that verses, but we didn't see it in the news. But that's more, that we should cover that verses. Rising seas of the fish. Rising seas of the fish are happening. Goat versus fish, 20 hours ago. Fox weather. Okay, Fox. Okay, Fox. Let's look at your drone footage. Goat and fish. The sea levels are rising again. Even as in Idaho, the sea levels in lakes and reservoirs are dropping, leading to massive fish die-offs and intense fish harvesting. The extremes of the verses of goat versus fish continue to yield this. As the water levels fall in one verses, they rise in another. And then once again, we edit out this part of the verses because here, goat and fish, we're going to watch some. Behold! Jaw-dropping drone footage reveals staggering scale of Indiana flood destruction. Yes, there have been massive storms in the state of Indiana. Goat versus Fish has, of course, versus in Indiana for the Glowstick Willytown Fest verses 7, 8, and 9. Some of them were in Ohio on the border of Indiana, but we stayed in Indiana. Many a verse. And now the floods are raging. Let's have a look at this verses. That has no sound whatsoever, but you can see. Water destroying a bridge. Water destroying a bridge. Drones having a look around. Maintenance can't sustain no. Infrastructure crumbling around as the sea rises from the ground. Dirt turns to mud. Mud turns to blood. Soap turns to sud. There, we provided our own musications. The drone video from the city shows the extent of the catastrophic damage to Hamilton County, Indiana. At least 7 have died. The White River surged to historic levels. So that's just one verses. A multi-day barrage of severe storms and historic flooding have left 7 dead, and hundreds of structures impacted across Indiana, triggering widespread destruction, water rescues, mass power outages, and imminent structural threats. Numerous storms have lashed the state since August 11th. Now, roughly a week later, communities are reeling. Yes, once reeling you thought was just for fish, but now it's for any goat living on the land from the devastating impacts. Indiana Governor Mike Braun declared a state of emergency to secure additional resources for the catastrophic devastation. Oh, now you want federal resources. President Rump also approved of an emergency declaration for Indiana, making federal disaster assistance available to the state. Response to widespread flooding and storm damage. Oh, what? The president made an emergency declaration for Indiana for offering federal disaster assistance? Wait, wait a versus. Wait a versus 2024 U.S. presidential election map. Who wants to wager on Goat versus Fish? Who wants to wager on Goat versus Fish? Did Indiana go for President T. Rump in the latest verses? Let's have a look. Hey, let's have a look. It would seem so. It would seem so. It would seem so. And because Indiana went to Trump with 11 votes, then indeed they will receive federal funding. It's a simple versus. It's a simple versus. When you find yourself in dire, horrible need, then you can call upon the president to give you the aid that you so deserve, as long as you supported the president, who is supposed to be a president for all of Earth America, but in practice is only a president for those who have sufficiently licked their boots and have given them the infinite filling of the massive hole that is their ego, that would have them perpetuating even just one more day without having to confront the horrible, dark fence that is within them. Donald Trump, are you goat or are you fish? Are you goat or are you fish? Hamilton County have activated its emergency operations around the clock as water inundated roads, parks, and low-lying neighborhoods. The flooding caused widespread closures, including Potter's Bridge Park, portions of the White River Greenway, or is it the Green River White Way, Geist Park, and other recreation areas. Man, look at this. Look what's happening. Look what's happening out there.
So let's go ahead and take it right out to the town, the community of Carmel, for the latest update. We have Mayor Sue Finkam joining us this morning. Mayor, let's just kick it off with, where do we stand this morning? I mean, the images coming.
More like, where do we swim this morning? Do we really have to listen to the verses? We just want to see pictures here.
Lines, wastewater treatment lines,
show us the
American
waters,
gas line, etc. And we're very concerned about what's happening as this river basically trenches a new path, offloading some of the flow.
Ooh, look at that verses.
The images are...
Look at that verses. Your roads aren't safe anymore. The water simply rising to reclaim the land of the goat. You can see the horror in Sue Finkman's eyes. Or Finkam, mayor of Carmel. Sounds sweet.
Are just heart-wrenching to see. Can you speak a little bit to the damage on the Hazel Dell Parkway that we've seen so far?
Yes, Hazel Dell Parkway is a 4-lane road in this area.
Oh no, someone think of the roads.
That is a very heavily trafficked road for us.
Oh, my verses. Oh, my verses. For the longest verses you have heard the Fencelikins and the Republicrats going up there and saying, our infrastructure is crumbling, and there's something that needs to be done about this. And everyone agrees, yes, let's do something about this. And you may think, oh, maybe these bridges and roads, they'll just collapse one by one eventually, and maybe it'll be a slow-moving versus, and we'll be able to handle it as it comes. No, eventually, Goat and Fish, there's going to come some massive, catastrophic situation like this flood in Indiana that is going to put all of these weak points to the test at the same verses, and it will all come crumbling down. And it won't just be one verses that needs repair. It'll be the entire Fence American system that's going to need reparations all at once, sector by sector, city by city, state by state, mountain by mountain, and lake by lake. Oh, and Hawaii got hit by a hurricane Also, lots of destruction abound. Get used to it, goat and fish. Perhaps we will live in a future-verse America where all of the old, decrepit fences will be washed away, and that this will at last give permission to the industrious champions of goat versus fish to rebuild better and stronger. For there does not seem to be much will or profit in even maintaining the old verses, much less upgrading them. But that is why you should support Goat vs. Fish and the Church of Goat vs. Fish, 501c3 nonprofit, pending. Goat vs. Fish is here to provide you with hydration and consumption and all of your basic needs that Goat vs. Fish can provide for the community and congregation that supports Goat vs. Fish. Because when you've got destruction like this, you're going to need a community of Goat vs. Fish. Yes, it's the ties that bind. It's the goat and fish intertwined.
Partners, including Martin Marietta, who owns the quarry.
Oh, no, no, not the homes that you are in now from which you watch the Goat vs. Fish live streams, anything but that.
Evaluate where we stand right now, but those conversations are literally occurring hourly. What's really ironic is 2 weeks ago, I kayaked this river and we had to portage a couple times because it was so low. So it's crazy.
Wow, just to go from one extreme to the other.
Look at this verses, and these are just rains. Yes, you may think, yes, we're in Indiana, we're safe from the canes, we're safe from the hurricanes. But no, goat and fish, even these waters may simply fall from the sky. It's a fish attack! It's a fish attack! Flotillas of waters from the clouds. The fish are willing to sacrifice their own, for somewhere in Idaho, there's a reservoir that's getting low. There's evaporation, and they carry the flotilla of fish across the nation, and then they dump it all in Indiana. The world is being transformed, goat and fish. It's not just a versus of whether or not it's going to be hot or cold. No, as the waters and the ices move about, the very terraformation is happening right here in Goat vs. Fish. Yes, the home grounds you knew as goat will become seas, and the seas will become lands, and the lakes will become sands. Goat vs. Fish is shifting all around us. We need something we can depend on. We need something that we can count on. We need Goat vs. Fish. We need to understand that it's Goat vs. Fish, and we need to protect as best as we can the sea and the land, both on the local and planetary level. Some may say, do not despair, goat and fish. We will simply escape. We'll escape to Mars. We'll escape to the moon. But don't think of that too soon, goat and fish. We've got a beautiful verses right here for us to enjoy. And Goat vs. Fish thinks that we should do everything we can to make sure that we can enjoy the sea and the land for many future generations. Why? So you can teach them about Goat vs. Fish. The one true versus. Are you goat or are you fish? Stay safe, Indiana. The fish are coming. And that's the news of Goat vs. Fish. That's the news of Goat vs. Fish. The waters contain only a few fences. Oh, those waters are containing more and more of the fences. As they wash away the fences, they get little fence bits in the waters. El Camino Niños, yes. We think that it's just the beginning, goat and fish. It's just the beginning. We even got rain last week. It's still muggy. We could do with another 20 years of rain. Yes, here in Los Angeles, California. It's a dry one. It's a dry one out here. One more bit of news, goat and fish, that we have to cover here. Video games are destroying the very fabric of intelligence, rational thought, productivity, and civilization as we know it. Oh yes, you think that game is rated E for everyone? Well, it is poisoning the minds of everyone, and it's not going to be any fun when these games start taking over everything and anything about your very existence. Your very mind, body, and soul are all on the chopping block when you partake in these vile excuses for entertainment. You think you're having just casual fun. You think you're just a little gamer. Well, the only game in town is Goat versus Fish. And shame and shame and shame upon the lame. Shame upon the lame who would take part in playing this game. Now, every now and a versus, is there a game? Is there a game that speaks to the verses of Goat versus Fish? That can education Goat versus Fish? That can be great for the development? And we're not just speaking of the hoof-fin coordination. No. A game that is truly revolutionary and provides some sort of social benefit to the verses? Well, perhaps. But Goat versus Fish is here to give you the hard truths. The true verses of Goat versus Fish, and that these games are not designed to expand your mind into the verses of Goat versus Fish. No, they're designed to keep you sitting on your behind, sitting on the fences, sitting on the fences, sitting on the fences. Goat and Fish, we despair to bring you this piece of game news. This week's most compelling new Steam game is Horse Magnifier, which is about magnifying horses. Oh, my verses, the hideousness, the ugliness. This is not art. This is not beauty. This is a distorted lens and perspective that you will gain from gaming. Magnifying horses. Reveling in the distortions. Yes, the very existence of the horse is already distorted for the distorted horse. Not knowing if it is goat. Not knowing if it is fish. The horse sits on the fence, and you sit on the horse who sits on the fence, riding and riding and riding, trying to escape into that sunset. For what? For why? You are running from yourself. You're running from yourself if you are engaged in this sort of distraction. If you scroll down to popular new games released on Steam right now, you'll find a quintessentially 2026 list of games. A new entry in the burgeoning sort slop genre. Ugh. It's hideous to even think about. There's Landscaper Simulator, which is a simulator about landscaping. You don't say. The War in the North reissue, and at least 2 incremental games, which is not a lot compared to normal. And here's an advertisement for corn. Perhaps that's because Horse Magnifier, the full horse, landed on Steam this week, throwing all norms into disarray. As the name implies, it's a game about magnifying horses. The trailer bears this out. We thought the trailer horses this out. Horses are shown being magnified or else distorted. Not what I came here for, alongside a 90s evoking drum and bass soundtrack. Okay, let's take us through Horse Magnifier. Oh no. Make it stop! Make it stop! Goat and Fish, you should never play a game like this. You should never play a game like Horse Magnifier. Instead, magnify this. Magnify this. Magnify goat. Magnify fish. And in the verses of Stan and Rimpy, when it comes to horse magnifier, no, sir, I don't like it. But of course, here on Goat vs. Fish News, you need the information. Yes, journalism can be a very difficult versus. Here on Goat vs. Fish News, sometimes we have to do the dirty digging so that you can be safe and comfortable in your own home. This next stream segment is not for the faint of heart. Children, look away. For we are going to show you now on stream for the rest of this Goat vs. Fish News. Yes, Goat and Fish, we are going to play Horse Magnifier. Of course, Goat vs. Fish is so mature and intelligent that Goat vs. Fish can handle playing Horse Magnifier without having our mind addled and destroyed by the fenciness. But you should watch from a distance. Don't play Horse Magnifier, just watch Goat vs. Fish. For someone of feeble brain to partake in such horse magnification would surely find themselves at their wits' end, being driven slowly insane by the inanity of it all. That is why you must merely watch the games instead of playing them yourselves. And now it's time to load up some Horse Magnifier. Yes, Goat vs. Fish, we're going to change our stream manager, so we're going to tell them we're no longer... Oh, my verses. The title of the stream has nothing to... We didn't change the title of the stream in the whole verses. Why did you tell Goat vs. Fish? Why didn't you tell Goat vs. Fish on Twitch that the Goat vs. Fish News title of the stream wasn't even verses? This is where you say, we tried to tell you Goat vs. Fish. You just weren't reading the chat, Goat vs. Fish. This is where you blame Goat vs. Fish. Okay. It's time for Horse Magnifier. Horsey Games? No. Horse Magnifier, the full horse. There's only 2 viewers and 7 followers for this allegedly very popular game. Well, listen, Goat vs. Fish, we're going to play it. We're going to play Horse Magnifier. Horse Magnifier game shortcuts. Goat vs. Fish spent $2.99 on this game, so you'd better enjoy it. You had better enjoy it. Here it comes. Here comes the magnification. Yes, the news stream has unexpectedly turned into a gaming stream. Oh, wow. It's a whole bunch of nothing. Here we are. Oh, my verses. Who's ready? Who's on board? One's in the congregation if you're ready to magnify some horses. Is that Dead End Beach? I think so. Lord Saturn says 1. How's the sound levels on your verses? Level select. 1. This is a game about magnifying horses. Drag the lens to the correct position to match the goal. It's got to be almost exact, so be precise and take your time. versus fish. Is there a way that we could? Is there a way that we could? Well, let's start. We think you want to see bigger verses is what we're trying to say here. There's the chat of Goat versus Fish. Here's a clear versus. Well, what if we just did this versus? We take the clear verses. Oh, hey, what happened to Goat versus Fish? Oh. What happened to Goat versus Fish? Okay, let's copy this versus. Duplication this versus. Just for now, we will do this. As the musications continue. Goat versus Fish. Okay, there's Goat versus Fish in the corner. Let's raise this. Ah! Let's raise this nice into the top. There we are. There we are. There's Goat versus Fish. And now let's get to magnifying those horses, shall we? That's what you want to see, don't you? That's what you wanted to see. You just love the fenciness of it all, don't you? This is a game about magnifying horses. Drag the lenses to the correct position and match the goal. It's got to be almost exact. Okay. Investigative journalism. I love it loud, so you want it's very loud here. We are asking about how the musications is comparing to the voice of Goat versus Fish. And if it's okay. Okay, Goat and Fish. So here's the goal. That's what we call a goal now. So let's try this. Okay, here we go. Ooh. That seems versatile to Goat versus Fish. Oh, but the legs. Oh, but the legs. Well, how's this? That seems versatile. You're gonna get Fenzi with us? That seems like the verses. Have we triumphed? Celebration! Accuracy level 3 pixels. 3 pixels of accuracy, Goat and Fish. Is that strong? Goat versus Fish does not know. Remember that it's got to be almost exactly precise. Oh, my verses. So here we have the horse's batut has received huge magnification. The word goal itself is all askew. We've got some large hoof action down here. Are these magnifiers all the same? Wonders Goat versus Fish. It would seem so. So let's start with the hooves here. Let's start with the hooves. Pure disproportionate black and white nihilism. That's one way to look at it. You wanted Goat versus Fish gaming. Well, now you've got it. Goat vs. Fish, they say, played Red Dead Redemption 2, Goat vs. Fish, and surely there may be a place for Goat vs. Fish to play these popular games, but don't you want someone out there to be playing the most absurd and preposterous revengefulous games out there that no one else is playing on Twitch? Don't you want someone out there? Someone out there who's going to show you just how fancy it gets. Oh. Is that the verses? Oh, it looks versatile. Okay, horses patoot. You can see that the patoot resides entirely within the magnification. You see a bit of horse tail in there. Perhaps like this? No, it's more that's more centrally there. Okay, go to maybe like this. Maybe as this somehow. Is that the verses? Is that the verses? One has to wonder. What is your assessment? I'm pretty sure the game is trying to spell goat. It is trying to spell goat. It's lost. There are goat and fish on Minecraft, it's true. Okay, horse face. Pointily ears. Big nose. Big nose. Lots of distortion. We'll try this. Have we achieved verses yet? Have we achieved verses? No! We have not achieved horse magnification. What the fence? How fancy has this got to be? Take your time. We've got no time for fenciness like this. Is this supposed to be relaxation? No up? Up, down, left, right, goat, fish. Mid one up. This versus. Goat versus fish. Nice verses. 5 pixels of accuracy. Why? That's not even close enough. Canada Rammy says, my anaconda. My anaconda don't want none. We now have achieved a new level with big magnification. And oh, you can use the magnification to magnify the verses so you can see what the fence is going on. Okay, so here, we believe here we have to double the verses. We might even have to triple the verses. Triple the verses? Oh. It's teaching us, it's learning, it's evolving. Oh, my verses. That doesn't look like the same to goat versus fish. We do need a goat version of this. Why the fence isn't there a goat version of this? What game designer out there is going to design a goat version of this? We need it. We need it in every public school. It just goes to show you how much the fence American government is willing to invest in fancy distractions. And they're like, oh, educational games aren't fun. Well, just make a goat magnifier. That'll be fun. This is making GoatVsFish hungry. Make a 7-assed horse, we're versing on it. You could write the developer Goat expansion pack. Surely they thought of Goat. It's just a very particular. We can see it in the eye. There's a certain way that the eye is versing up there. It seems we need the triple verses. There seems to be no way about to not do this with a triple verse. Triple the verse. Triple the verse. Ooh. That's closer for GoatVsFish. Well, maybe. Oh, my verses. The fence sitters is like, look at me. Look even closer at me. Look at me. Perhaps if we magnify the horse enough, we will see goat or fish evidence. We think that's what's keeping GoatVsFish going here. The hope that some way, somehow, this magnification will yield goat or fish evidence. Align with the top of the head, not ears, and the bump next to the ear. That's the advice of SeanKnight.com. Are you certain there's not 2 verses in one? You see, we can go all the way like this, but then clearly we have to be more centrally upon the eye of this strange creature. Some verses like this, it's not enough. It's a closer verse. Horse admirer, sport spend more than 5 minutes on a standard level. Oh, don't patronize GoatVsFish. Sounds like beer's moving. Backseat gaming is welcome. All and any of your advice is welcome on GoatVsFish here. We need all the verses we can get. These fence creatures aren't going to magnify themselves. Well, let's at least do the big verses. Big verses like this. Bit flat-footed. Well, it's giving it to GoatVsFish. 4 pixel accuracy celebration. You're doing important work here. Thank you, yes. Horse investigation. You think it's offset? Okay, so now we have... Ooh. Reverse magnification has entered the verses. Wow, that waist is snatched. Now we like this reverse magnification because we think the rings around the magnification are in some ways creation some difficulties of perception. GoatFish. Ooh. So here we have to get the head of the creature. But the neck, we know that after some modification is going to be quite flat and straight. So we know we haven't finished the verses yet. So we want like a fat chest out. Could this be the verses already? Celebration. Powerful goat versus fish. Count chin polygons, you say? This is Goat vs. Fish Gaming, 6 pixel accuracy. I don't like how this horse looks. Oh, you and Goat vs. Fish. Oh, the magnifications are becoming different sizes now. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Well, this is all just an offense to Goat vs. Fish. This has been the news of Goat vs. Fish. This has been the news of Goat vs. Fish. This has been news with a little bit of horse magnification on Goat vs. Fish, and we appreciate you joining. Goat vs. Fish. Tuesday, Newsday hours. We appreciate you joining the Goat vs. Fish Tuesday, Newsday hours. And this has been your news of Goat vs. Fish. This has been your news of Goat vs. Fish. A special appreciation to the Patreons of Goat vs. Fish. Humble congregation members who have joined the Church of Goat vs. Fish. The Quaxinator, Wrench Stallion, Mama Joe Brahma Joe, Standard Average, Hi-Fi Protege, Uber Kitten, Eldergrown, Adam N, Psychic Buckeye 12, Hogrim, Bubbles, Tugger Rugger. The Elite Humble Congregation, Prism Bloom, Napoleon Doom, That One Book Guy, Watt 9807, Sourdough, Atro, The Dane Wife, and Lord Saturn. And the Unification Congregation, Lysergic Fish, and I Can Fix Amber Heard. Appreciation! Support Goat vs. Fish, if you can. Joy Evil, so great to have you in the verses as well. YouTube,